Welcome to the Explainer. Have you ever wondered what actually happens when a sailor just vanishes from a ship? I mean, it sounds straight out of an old pirate movie, right? But in the modern maritime world, a missing mariner is a massive, high-stakes emergency that kicks off an incredibly fast-paced legal machine. Today, we're decoding the rules of maritime desertion and wage forfeiture by looking at what we're calling the Captain's Action Plan. Let's get right into it. Okay, let's dive into this. Here's our navigational chart for today. First, missing mariners basics. Then, desertion inside India, followed by outside India. After that, we'll hit the wage forfeiture rules, and finally wrap up with the seafarer's defense. All right, part one, missing mariners, the basics. So imagine you're the captain of a massive commercial Indian vessel. You're doing a final head count, and suddenly, somebody is missing. Legally speaking, the core problem here is defined as desertion. Basically, this happens when a seafarer on an Indian vessel absents themselves without leave before their engagement is actually finished. It's that crucial phrase, without leave, that really makes all the difference here. They haven't just popped ashore for a quick coffee, they've actively breached their legally binding contract by leaving early without explicit permission. And that breach? That's what sets off all the maritime alarms. Moving right along to Section 2, Desertion inside India. Now, the rules actually change completely depending on where this disappearance happens. If a desertion occurs while the ship is docked right here within Indian borders, a high-stakes ticking clock starts instantly. 48 hours. The master doesn't have a week to go searching local taverns or, wait around hoping the sailor catches a later cab. They have exactly 48 hours to make their next official move. It's this rapid response requirement designed specifically to keep the Maritime Administration strictly informed of exactly who is and who isn't on their vessels. So, who exactly is the captain racing to inform before that 48-hour timer runs out? Well, they've got to report it directly to the shipping master or to a specified central government officer. The shipping master basically acts as the central administrative hub here. And the only exception to this rule, literally the only way to pause that ticking clock, is if the deserter actually returns to the ship in the meantime. If they don't walk back up that gangway, that official report absolutely must be filed within the 48-hour window to legally document the breach. Let's move to Section 3 and see how this builds. Desertion outside India. Okay, so what happens when that exact same Indian vessel is docked in a foreign port, say Rotterdam or Singapore, and a crew member vanishes into a completely unfamiliar international city? The stakes instantly change. The captain now faces a super precise international chain of custody. Step 1. The master has to make a formal, detailed entry of the desertion right in the ship's official logbook. Step 2, they take that logbook to the local Indian ambassador who produces and officially certifies a copy of that entry. And Step 3, the master must forthwith, which means immediately, no dragging your feet, transmit that certified copy all the way back to the shipping master at the seafarer's original port of shipment. It's kind of like a logistical relay race across global borders, all designed to create an unshakable paper trail. And this brilliantly illustrates the stark contrast between the two scenarios. Inside India, it's all about pure speed, a rapid 48-hour domestic sprint directly to a local shipping master. But outside India, the requirement shifts to this formal diplomatic relay race involving an ambassador and certified copies flying across the globe, just to ensure everything is totally admissible in legal proceedings back home. It's the exact same core problem of a missing sailor, handled in two remarkably different ways purely based on GPS location. All right, on to Section 4, the wage forfeiture rules. So the paperwork is filed, the authorities are notified, and eventually the ship sails on. But what are the lasting consequences here? Because desertion isn't just about a missing head count, it's a broken contract. And that usually leads to a pretty fierce legal battle over forfeited wages. To legally prove a seafarer has forfeited their pay, the ship owner has to satisfy a really strict checklist. First, they need to show the seafarer was actually duly engaged in or formally belonged to the vessel. Second, that they left before the voyage or engagement was completed, or if the voyage was meant to terminate in India and the ship hasn't returned, that they're simply absent. And third, absolutely crucially, they must prove that a proper entry of this desertion was duly made in the official logbook. Check those 3 boxes and boom, the desertion is legally deemed to be proved. Which brings us to our final part, Section 5, the seafarer's defense. Up to this point in the explainer, we've really been looking at things from the captain's chair, right? Dealing with ticking clocks, logbooks, diplomatic stamps. But let's flip the narrative for a second to the sailor who stands to lose everything. If the captain perfectly checks all those boxes, is it truly game over for the sailor's paycheck? Can the seafarer fight back to protect their wages? I mean, is there a legal mechanism hidden in all these protocols to actually override a proven desertion? Well, the crucial point here is that yes, there absolutely is a way out for the sailor, but it requires them to bring some solid proof to the table. The law provides two very specific acceptable defenses to override a wage forfeiture. The seafarer must either produce a proper certificate of discharge, proving they were actually formally and legally released from duty by the master, or they have to show the court sufficient reasons for leaving the vessel. This means physically stepping before a judge and proving their departure was totally justified. Maybe it was a severe medical emergency, or maybe they can prove the ship was unseaworthy and genuinely unsafe. If they can satisfy the court with those reasons, their wages are protected. That completely overrides all those official logbook entries. This whole legal framework is just a fascinating, high-stakes tug-of-war. The captain carries this immediate, fast-paced burden of rapid reporting and meticulous logbook entries to prove the desertion right out of the gate. But the seafarer, they ultimately carry this incredibly heavy burden of justifying their sudden departure to a formal court of law just to save their livelihood. Which leaves us with this final, kind of provocative thought to ponder today. In this complex dance of maritime logistics and human movement, who truly bears the heaviest burden of proof? The captain managing the rigid paperwork, or the sailor defending their human actions? Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer today. Keep questioning the world around you, and we'll see you next time.